Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into the stats behind recent UFC and PFL events.
That's right, looking at April through June 2025 specifically.
And our mission, really, is to sift through all those numbers, pull out the key insights, the surprises, basically give you a shortcut to being smarter about combat sports metrics.
Get you up to speed quickly.
Exactly. And, here's where it gets really interesting. Almost immediately.
Yeah, the most striking thing right off the bat, it's how different the data itself is between the two.
Totally different world.
Fundamentally different. With the UFC, you've got UFCstats.com, mostly. And that gives you this incredibly granular view.
Granular how? Like what details?
We're talking significant strikes per round, takedowns landed, control time, sub attempts, all the nitty-gritty stuff.
Wow.
Everything you need to really dig into tactical efficiency, fight by fight, round by round.
So you can almost statistically replay the fight moment by moment.
Pretty much, yeah. But then you pivot to PFL.
And that like that.
Not really, no. It's a whole different ballgame for data availability. PFL data is mainly about the outcomes.
Just the results?
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Who won, the method of victory, TKO decision, whatever. And when the fight ended.
So valuable, but not that deep dive into the actual fight dynamics.
Exactly. You get the finishing rates, the overall picture, but not those moment-by-moment metrics. It's kind of like
Like only knowing how many cars passed a point all day versus knowing the traffic flow minute by minute.
Perfect analogy. You can't see the 5 p.m. jam with just the daily total. The UFC data lets you see the bottlenecks. The PFL data gives you the summary.
Right, and that basic difference changes what we can even analyze.
Completely. It dictates the depth of statistical analysis possible for each promotion.
Okay, so let's talk about what that super detailed UFC data did show us. What jumped out?
Well, digging into that micro-level stuff, one tactical truth really shines through for the UFC.
Next job.
Dominant grappling. It's just a consistently highly effective path to victory.
We're talking takedowns, control time.
Both. Successful takedowns, piling up that control time on the mat, it's huge.
Even if maybe the striking numbers aren't quite there.
Yeah, even if a fighter is getting slightly outstruck in significant strikes, think about many fights, really. Someone like Usman, historically.
Right, gets the takedown, controls position.
Exactly. Even if the opponent lands some good shots standing, that consistent grappling pressure, the control, it wears people down, scores points. It often leads straight to a decision win.
It's like the silent killer of a pure striking game plan sometimes.
It can be, definitely. That control time really adds up on the scorecards. It dictates the narrative.
I bet some striking purists aren't thrilled hearing that.
Maybe not. But the numbers bear it out pretty consistently in the UFC data.
Okay, so shifting gears, PFL. With less detailed data, what could we see there?
We focus more on the outcomes, like we said, and what popped out was a noticeably higher rate of decisive finishes.
So KOs, TKOs, submissions.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in the regular season fights, the non-semifinals.
Interesting. So more action, more finishes there. Why is that?
It really seems to point towards a more aggressive finish hunting style from many PFL fighters.
And is that driven by the format, that tournament structure they have?
Absolutely. That looks like the key driver. The PFL's point system heavily rewards early, decisive wins. You get bonus points for finishing fast.
Okay. So there's a direct incentive to kind of go for broke early on.
Right. Instead of maybe playing it safe for a decision, fighters are pushed to get the job done quickly, which, makes for exciting fights.
You can almost picture them thinking about those bonus points.
Totally. But then what's fascinating is seeing how that pattern changes.
How so?
When you get to the high-stakes semifinal bouts, the pressure shifts.
Less aggression.
Yeah, fighters tend to become more cautious, more focused on just getting the win, securing that spot in the final. Decision-focused strategies become more common.
So they adapt. Risk versus reward changes dramatically.
Precisely. It's a really interesting tactical evolution shaped purely by the immediate stakes of the tournament stage.
Okay, so we have these two major MMA promotions, UFC and PFL. Similar sport, but analyzed differently because the data is just not the same.
That's the core of it.
So, stepping back, what does this all mean for you, listening, beyond just fight stats?
Well, I think the big takeaway is realizing how much the quality of information you have shapes your understanding.
You mean like for anything, not just sports?
Yeah, anything. Market trends, science news, whatever. The depth of insight you can get is fundamentally limited by how detailed and comprehensive the data you're looking at actually is.
So the data you can get sort of dictates the questions you can even ask.
Exactly. And the conclusions you can confidently draw. For the UFC, we can ask deep tactical questions about grappling versus striking efficiency.
Because the data's there.
Right. For PFL, with the current public data, we're better equipped to analyze how the tournament structure influences finishing rates and strategic shifts between rounds. Different questions, different insights, all because of the data.
Which, thinking about it, raises a pretty important question.
Mm-hmm.
How much does the sheer availability of data shape our perception of what's actually happening?
That's definitely something to chew on.